Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a minute to show you how you are going to do your Desmos activity. But before I do that, I need to talk about something called end behavior. Now, on the Desmos activity, what you're going to be doing is looking at the end behavior of the graph. So what that means is you are completely ignoring or erasing what is happening in the middle of your graph. I don't care what happens in the middle of the graph at all. I'm just looking to see what happens with the y value at the end of the graph. So for example, this is the end of the graph and this is the end of the graph. So what is the y value doing at the end of the graph, okay? And here's how you're gonna write this. You're always gonna write this as x approaches, that's how you read that, as x approaches infinity. So what that means is that means if you were to go, so x approaching infinity, this is x going towards infinity. Basically think of like putting a little person on your graph, okay? Where would that little person, if they kept going along the graph, up, 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 where would they be going towards, okay? That little person would be going up forever. So that's basically saying that my y value is going up, 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 okay? So as x approaches infinity, your function also, this f of x is saying your y is also going towards infinity. So here's y going towards infinity. So as x gets bigger and bigger and bigger, if you put a little person on here, they'd be walking up, 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 up forever. So y is going towards infinity. Okay, now we have to look at the other side of the graph. So as x approaches, that's what that arrow means, negative infinity. So this is x going towards negative infinity. So if you put your little person on the left side of the graph, where would they be going? Down, 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 down. That y value is going down, 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 down. It's going towards negative infinity. So your function is approaching negative infinity. So the part that will always stay the same will be this portion right here. As x approaches infinity, f of x approaches. As x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches. And then you'll change these two portions depending upon what the end of your graph is doing. And once again, we do not care about the middle, okay? So this right here, we're gonna erase the middle. I don't care what's happening right here. I'm just looking at the ends of my graph, okay? So let's look at the right-hand side first. So if we say as x approaches infinity, so as x gets bigger and bigger and bigger, as I go towards the right-hand side of my graph, where is the y value of my graph going? Well, the y value is going up, 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 up forever. So I'm going to say my function or my y value is approaching or going up towards infinity. Okay, so that part stays the same. You're only just changing where the y value is going to. So the second part is as x approaches negative infinity. So the left-hand side of your graph, okay, so as x approaches negative infinity, so as I'm going towards negative infinity, the left-hand side of my graph, if I were to put a person on here, where would my y values be going? They'd be going up, 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 up. So what is that doing? That's where y is also approaching infinity again. Okay, all right, let's take a look at this one. So this one right here, who cares about the middle? If you want to just start by writing as x approaches infinity, f of x approaches, and then kind of fill in the blank. This is the part that's the same. As x approaches negative infinity, what is your function approach? Fill in the blank. Okay, so who cares about the middle? We're getting rid of that. Let's look at the right-hand side of the graph. So this is x approaching infinity. This is x approaching negative infinity. So approaching just means my x values are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What is the y value doing? Well, the y value keeps going down, 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 down. It's going towards negative infinity on my graph, okay? So as x approaches negative infinity, okay, over here, going, 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 where is your y value going? It's going up, 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 up. It's going towards positive infinity. So as x approaches negative infinity, your function approaches positive infinity or is going up forever. Okay, so this is sort of the format that you're going to be using for the Desmos activity. And let me just show you what that is going to look like. Okay, so number one, here's what your notes are going to look like. So you're going to go to this link. This is in Schoology. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to fill this in. So you're going to talk about what is the degree, what is the leading coefficient, and the type here is going to be like, is this a monomial, binomial, okay, constant? I'll do the first one with you just so you sort of see what I mean here. Okay, so number one, let's look at this first one and figure out the degree. All right, so the degree, remember, is what is the highest exponent on x? Well, this actually doesn't have an x value in it. So this, I could rewrite this as 4x to the 0 because x to the 0 is the same thing as 1, okay? So this has a degree of 0. The leading coefficient is the coefficient or the number in front of the highest exponent. Well, in this case, there is none, so it has to be 4, right? Okay, so what you're going to look at as you're doing this, you're going to kind of look and see, okay, is the degree even or odd? Okay, so these are the things you kind of want to look for as you're doing this activity. Are the degrees even or odd? And is your leading coefficient positive or negative? So those are sort of the two main things. And then the type here, if I were to graph this, this is a constant. Okay, so this is a monomial because there is only one of them. Now we know what this graph looks like. This is the same thing as y equals 4. So I could actually graph this on here, but I'm going to show you what this looks like on the Desmos activity in a second. Okay, so I want you to graph it. And then let's look at the end behavior. Now, I have the first portion already written out for you, but on your quiz, you will have to know how to write this. All right, but I did it for you here just to give you some practice. So here, if we're looking at this as x approaches infinity, so here's x approaching infinity. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What is your y value or f of x going towards? Well, if you look at this, as I keep going, the y value is staying the same. Everywhere along here, my y value is 4. So as x gets bigger and bigger, what is your value of y? Well, it's going to stay at 4. Okay, let's do the same thing over here. As x approaches negative infinity, as I go towards the left-hand side, what's your y value doing? Well, your y value is staying at 4, okay? So as x approaches negative infinity, your function or your y value approaches 4 or is 4, okay? All right, so that's what you're gonna do with this activity. If you take a look here, you're gonna scroll down, you're gonna kind of do the same thing, all right? What is the degree? Okay, make sure that your degree and leading coefficient, you're checking to see if it's even or odd. Leading coefficient is positive or negative. Those are sort of the two things that you have to get out of this activity. Now, if you notice, okay, in Schoology, what you will have done, you will have watched this video. Okay, here's the Desmos link that you're going to use to do this activity. It's in Schoology. Now, notice how all of the graphs are already here. Okay, but you don't actually see them on here. To get them, you're just going to press this button and it's going to show you the graph. To turn it off, press that button again. Turn it on, press that button. Okay, turn it off, press that button. There it is. Turn it off, press that button. Okay, so you can keep going through and doing that. And you're going to do that with all of these functions. So it shouldn't take that long. And honestly, for your graphs on here, they don't have to be perfect. You don't have to draw perfect graphs here. I just want you to have an idea of what the graph looks like, because the degree and the leading coefficient is going to tell us what the end behavior looks like. Like the middle, I don't care about right now. I mean, later we will, but the end behavior, that's what we want to know. What is the ends of my graph doing? All right. Okay, so you're going to go through and work through that. Okay. And then once you're done with that, you're going to watch the video where I kind of put everything all together here. All right. So, okay, notice once again, you're going to do the Desmos activity. Then I actually want you to check your answers. Okay. So if you click on this link, this is the link to the answer key to the notes. So I want you to scroll down, and after you're done, don't just copy the answers. After you're done, I want you to go through and check your answers, because you do have to know how to do this on the quiz. This is going to be important in pre-calculus. This is going to be important in calculus. We're going to be using this the rest of the year. So if you just copy the answers here, it is not going to help you. All right, so, but I do want you to check them when you're done. Okay, then when you're done, I'm gonna explain this last page. All right, remember, if you have any questions, talk to each other. You can always shoot me a message via Schoology that I will answer every day, probably at the beginning of the day.